Tonight on NewsWatch, suing the government, why one conservative group is fighting back against the IRS. Plus, Iran elects a new president. A look at the future of the country as a so-called moderate takes power. And why the way you stand and sit can make a big difference in the way you feel. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Martin. A leading conservative group is taking the IRS to court. The National Organization for Marriage says the tax agency leaked its confidential records to its opponents, and the information from those records was used to harass its supporters. John Jessup has tonight's top story from Washington.
No matter where you stand, the future of marriage stirs strong emotions on both sides of the debate. But one thing everyone agrees on: government agencies that are supposed to be independent, especially those as powerful as the Internal Revenue Service, shouldn't use their leverage to help either side. But one conservative group charges that's just what happened when the IRS leaked the names and addresses of some of its supporters.
People's names were disclosed as donors, their businesses were boycotted. If there was an employee at a business, that business was boycotted.
Dr. John Eastman, chair of the National Organization for Marriage, made his charges at a recent hearing in Washington. He, along with other conservative groups, said the IRS targeted them for political harassment, an accusation that's drawn condemnation from the right and the left.
This is not about ambiguity in the law. This is not about any such thing. This is about abuse of power.
I believe that it's outrageous, it's inappropriate, it's wrong, and we must do everything that we can do to fix it.
The pro-traditional marriage group believes someone in the IRS illegally gave its private donors list to the Human Rights Campaign, a gay advocacy group that supports same-sex marriage. HRC posted the donor information online during the 2012 campaign. CBN contacted HRC for comment, but it did not respond. The National Organization for Marriage requested investigations into who leaked the names of its financial backers with both the IRS and the Department of Justice, but up to now, NOM has been essentially stonewalled.
Nothing has changed since the hearing except that more and more voices are demanding answers.
The National Organization for Marriage says after its list of donors was posted on the internet, many of them were harassed, boycotted, and ultimately intimidated from sending in more money. Now it is suing the IRS for civil penalties. And Peters says this case has implications for all Americans.
It's a chilling of our free speech. Americans on both sides of the question about what marriage is have a right to donate, to organize, to use all the tools of the political process to share their views and to put their money where their mouth is.
Meanwhile, lawmakers promise they'll find out who released the private information on the donors.
I have to tell you, Mr. Eastman, this is egregious, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
John Jessup, CBN News, Washington.
Several countries are demanding answers after new claims from NSA leaker Edward Snowden. He says the United States did more than just spy on its own citizens, but on other governments, too. China is the latest country joining in calls for Washington to explain the National Security Agency programs that tracked millions of telephone records and foreign internet activity on U.S. networks.
We demand the whole truth be disclosed by the U.S. administration, and we demand an unconditional apology by Mr. Obama.
The man behind the leak is still believed to be hiding out in Hong Kong. Many there support Snowden. 33% of people in Hong Kong call him a hero. A British electronic surveillance agency reportedly hacked into the phones and emails of foreign politicians and officials. The London Guardian reports the agency did that during two major international summits in London 4 years ago. The paper says the disclosure raises new questions about the surveillance programs from the UK and the U.S. The allegations became public only hours before Britain was due to open this year's G8 International Summit. Some visiting delegates may want to know if the UK spied on them in 2009, you think? Well, that G8 summit got underway today in Northern Ireland. The Syrian war, trade, and tax reforms are expected to dominate the meeting of world leaders. Meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin are taking place. He does not want the international community to interfere in the Syrian civil war. Putin is unhappy with President Obama's decision to supply the rebel fighters with weapons, but he does support peace talks between Assad's regime and opposition forces.
President Putin and I have discussed how we can use the G8 to bring new momentum and leadership to start negotiations, to deliver a transitional government, to keep Syria intact, and to stop the killing.
President Obama said this evening that the U.S. and Russia have different perspectives on Syria, but share interest in stopping violence. And while arming Syrian rebels may be a hot topic during the G8, here at home, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee says Congress wants to know just what the administration plans to do.
We've asked them to come up and say, if we're going to move this direction, you're going to have to come up with a more comprehensive plan. I mean, it seems to me they have a great media strategy. They don't have a great Syrian strategy.
The chairman says that plan will need to be approved before any aid is given. Labor unions are joining mounting protests today against Turkey's prime minister and what many there call a destruction of secular Turkish values. This weekend, riot police continued to repel thousands of protesters from returning to an Istanbul park. The standoff started as an 18-day environmentalist rally, but has morphed into spontaneous protests and stone throwing, forcing the government to use tear gas and water cannons. So far, 5 people, including a policeman, have died and more than 5,000 have been injured. Iran's new president says he will be more open about his country's nuclear program. Hassan Rouhani has made the comment in his first speech after Friday's election. Rouhani also promised to follow a, quote, path of moderation. And while many call the new president a moderate, some analysts warn there won't be any real changes in Iran. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Iran's new president Hassan Rouhani won in a landslide. The 64-year-old successor to Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is promising a revolution in Iran's economy, culture, and politics.
Regarding the Iranian elections, we in Israel have no illusions.
But Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu stressed Rouhani has limited powers.
While the elections no doubt expressed a dissatisfaction of the Iranian people with their regime, I don't see it producing the genuine change in Iran's nuclear policy.
The ultimate power in Iran, including its nuclear program, rests with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Before the election, Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Yuval Steinitz told foreign journalists Iran's nuclear program is not about producing a nuclear bomb or two, but rather a nuclear arsenal.
We are not speaking about the Iranian bomb. We are not speaking about having few bombs in the shelter like North Korea. Once they will be there, they will produce dozens, and later on it will take them time, maybe even hundreds of nuclear bombs.
He warned if Iran gets a nuclear arsenal, it would be the first time in history a fanatic religious government possessed nuclear weapons.
If the Iranian will gain nuclear weapons, this is going to change the course of global history.
Rouhani once served as Iran's chief nuclear negotiator. He hinted about his approach to Iran's nuclear program when he said in 2004, "While we were talking with the Europeans in Tehran, we were installing equipment in parts of the nuclear conversion facility in Isfahan. By creating a calm environment, we were able to complete the work there." This method of gentle Iranian diplomacy on the surface, while it races toward a nuclear arsenal behind the scenes, is what alarms many Israelis. Clifford May of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies told CBN News, Iran remains the #1 enemy of the U.S. and Israel.
Iran represents the most important strategic threat to the United States. That means Iran seeks to diminish the United States, destroy its influence in the Middle East and as much of its influence everywhere as it can. But it's not a strategic threat, but an existential threat to Israel.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Back in the U.S., more evidence of a liberal bias. A study released today shows media coverage around the time the U.S. Supreme Court first considered the gay marriage issue had much more content from supporters than opponents. The Pew Research Center studied nearly 500 stories on the topic over a 2-month period. Stories with statements supporting the legalization of same-sex marriage outnumbered by 5-1 stories dominated by the views of opponents. Pew says many stories were about polls showing societal attitudes quickly changing, and the study shows supporters were better at getting their message out. The project's acting director says she does not think the study necessarily shows news media opinions skew left. Well, is gay marriage across the U.S. inevitable? A recent Pew poll shows 72% of Americans believe that's the case. But as Heather Sells reports, a traditional marriage movement is emerging, and its leaders represent both a new generation and a new way of thinking.
In recent years, the marriage debate has resembled an athletic event. Gay activists on offense and traditional marriage supporters playing defense at best. Now a new generation has entered the game.
The other side has been kind of preparing the seeds for this debate for 20 or 30 years. And they've been well prepared, well organized, and the response is just in its infancy.
It's a debate known for highly charged emotion, as Ryan Anderson well knows. He willingly enters hostile arenas like the Piers Morgan show on CNN. Anderson sees it as a calling that goes back to his days at Princeton, when he saw the traditional marriage side being dismissed, although it carried a stronger argument.
I said, I almost have a duty, an obligation to be making these arguments because I kind of understand what both sides are saying and where the disconnect is.
To that end, Anderson recently co-authored What is Marriage?, where he argues that government should support traditional marriage because of its link to child welfare.
We could get government out of the bedroom if it weren't for the fact that a certain type of act between a man and a woman creates new life, and children need moms and dads.
The New York Times recently recognized Anderson and other movement leaders like Caitlin Siri, who directs the Love and Fidelity Network on college campuses.
We're trying to help students prepare themselves for healthy marriages so that they will then raise healthy families, because healthy families are the foundation of our society.
What Siri, Anderson, and other young leaders have in common, a willingness to face fierce opposition and think outside the box about what is possible. What they're up against, a Supreme Court that may soon decide in favor of gay marriage, and a country where the majority believe that its legalization is inevitable. But polls also show that almost half of all Americans believe that homosexual behavior is a sin. Those with such deeply held beliefs will no doubt welcome a movement that would champion their cause and provide profound arguments in favor of one of life's most sacred institutions. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Coming up, the work to fully contain the Colorado wildfires.
If you have Medicare and have a chronic breathing condition, you can take your medication using an inhaler. Or this, a portable nebulizer from Med4Home. Independent studies have shown a nebulizer may be more effective and easier to use than just an inhaler. Impressive. It's like getting hospital-quality treatment at home. So call Med4Home today to find out more. Med4Home is a specialty pharmacy that's here to help you however they can. They'll deal with your doctor, the paperwork, even ship for free. And their pharmacists and respiratory therapists are available 24/7. What's more, your nebulizer and medications may even be covered by your Part B benefits. For a better treatment at a much better price, call Med4Home now to learn how a portable nebulizer can help you start breathing better today. For more information, call 1-800-210-5821.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
The Supreme Court has struck down a law requiring voters to have proof of citizenship. The Arizona law, known as Proposition 200, made people submit proof when registering to vote. Supporters say the measure reduces voter fraud, but opponents argued it put an extra burden on voters. A federal appeals court agreed, saying the law went too far. Today, the high court sided with the lower court, ruling in a 7-2 decision. Firefighters are making progress trying to contain the worst wildfire in Colorado history. 2 are dead and nearly 500 homes have been torched as the fires near Colorado Springs burned for more than a week. Other blazes threaten homes in California and other parts of the West. And as John Waggy explains, it's testing the faith of many residents.
Smoke billowed from the Black Forest as firefighters welcomed Sunday's rains. That helped them get a handle on the blazes that lit up million-dollar homes. Record temperatures and strong winds helped fuel the fires that brought heartache to residents like John Poss.
We were one of the many that was evacuated. I was very fortunate. Our place is intact. My daughter lost her home.
Poss is a member of Black Forest Lutheran Church in the evacuation zone. They held Sunday services in Colorado Springs, praying for 15 families who lost everything.
I think it's a way to deal with the grief.
Evacuees lined up outside the danger zone, more than eager to see whether their homes survived.
My nerves have been on edge for 3 days, and that's probably not going to change until they say, hey, it's 100% contained.
I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse. And I don't want to create a false belief that tomorrow everybody's going home, because that's not going to happen.
Although the weather has helped firefighters turn the corner, authorities are taking extra precautions.
We have a crime scene in there. We have fire in there. We have down power lines in there. We have trees falling each time there's a gust of wind.
The people that lost their homes, they're going to hit bottom again when they see theirs for the first time, which probably will be this week.
And that will intensify the prayers of Colorado's faithful.
People need to have faith in Jesus. That's all.
John Waggy, CBN News.
Amen. Well, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, in other news, is taking on a new cause. This time, a plan requiring New Yorkers to separate food scraps for composting. Under the program, residents would collect their food waste and put it in a picnic basket-sized container in their home. Those containers would then be emptied into large brown bins on the curb for pickup. Officials say the program would start off with 150,000 single-family homes, 100 high-rise buildings, and 600 schools. But by 2015 or 2016, the entire city would be expected to participate. If Bloomberg's plan is embraced by New Yorkers, it would represent the biggest expansion of recycling efforts for the city since 1989. Up next, how your posture could possibly be making you sick.
Dryer runs forever, and your clothes still come out damp? Now you can speed up your dryer by up to 15 minutes. Introducing the Lint Lizard. It's like a magic wand that cleans deep into any dryer. The flexible Lint Lizard attaches right to any vacuum hose. Look how much lint we got out of this dryer. All this lint that escapes past your lint screen. Yuck! A clogged dryer works harder. All that lint can even burn out your motor. Or worse, it can start a dangerous vent fire. It's a full 40 inches long and cleans deep into your vent system, grabbing all the packed-in lint that's choking your dryer. After a quick cleaning with the Lint Lizard, your dryer vent is clear, making it work less and run more efficiently. Old-fashioned lint brushes pull out some lint, and the lint gets everywhere. The Lint Lizard cleans deeper and sends the lint right into your vac bag. Vacuuming between machines and under appliances is a snap. Take it outdoors to vac your outside vent. So before you spend a fortune on costly repairs, order your lint lizard for just $10.99. Call right now and you can double your order. And that's not all. We'll also include the dust lizard. It attaches to any vac and adjusts to any position. The dust lizard goes where no other attachment can. Clean delicate electronics, tedious air vents, tiny tile crevices, crumbs from corners, dirt from slider tracks, places you could never vacuum before, even expensive sculptures and intricate chandeliers. Plus, the lint lizard comes with a money-back guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, return them and keep the dust lizard. You get it all, 2 lint lizards and the dust lizard for $10.99. Call now and find out about free shipping.
Call 1-800-373-2150 and get your lint lizard. But call now and you can get a special offer on a second lint lizard and the dust lizard with your order. So call 1-800-373-2150 and find out about free shipping. That's 1-800-373-2150. Call now.
Welcome back. Are you tired? Do you have headaches or back pain and you aren't sure why? Well, it could be caused by something as simple as your posture. As Lori Johnson explains in tonight's Focus Report, the way you stand and sit can make a big difference in the way you feel.
We don't often think about it, but our posture sends a message to our body and other people.
Years ago, a lady would train herself to stand, walk, and sit correctly by balancing a book on her head, because good posture is synonymous with poise and elegance. And while those qualities may not be as valuable today, there are still lots of other reasons to practice good posture.
It can make you appear thinner, taller, and younger. While looking more confident, research shows you feel that way too. On the other hand, slouching makes you look and feel tired, according to Cleveland Clinic's Dr. Mladen Galjubek.
When you slump, you have reduced your capacity to inhale properly, to inhale through your diaphragmatic breathing rather than just expanding the chest. So clearly that could lead, to quickly feeling tired and exhausted and feeling sleepy.
Bad posture stresses joints and muscles, which can cause back pain, headaches, and long-term injuries. YMCA trainer Susan Bonviri teaches clients good posture by looking in the mirror.
Keep your shoulders down and relaxed. We need to pull our shoulder blades together in the back, and we have to make sure that our ears are centered over the shoulders, shoulders over ribs, ribs over hips, hips over knees, and knees over ankles.
When you're sitting, good posture means both feet on the floor under your knees, shoulders relaxed, but spine lifted.
If we think of having a corset around our midsection, that kind of forces everything up and it causes us to sit up a little bit taller.
Maintaining good posture is easier if you strengthen your core, the muscles that support your spine. Here are ways to do that. Lie on your stomach and lift your chest and your legs.
One more time, bring it up and lower down. That's perfect.
Then on all fours, lift your arm and the opposite leg.
So this is spinal stabilization, very important in order to maintain good posture.
And while balancing on your elbows and toes, lift the rest of your body like a plank.
And you can feel how all of those muscles, abdominal muscles, lower back, internal and external obliques, glutes, everything is helping keep you lifted, yes?
You can also strengthen the spine itself by getting enough calcium and vitamin D.
When it comes to sitting, even though good posture is very important, we should be much more concerned with how long we sit.
Too many uninterrupted hours on your duff could lead to an early death.
Sedentary death syndrome is a term that was designed to describe a variety of lifestyle-related diseases and symptoms that develop as a result of sitting. Leads to increased risk of coronary artery disease, heart attacks, strokes, certain types of cancer. So that's the real reason why it's called sedentary death syndrome, because ultimately it leads to death.
So set your alarm as a reminder to take a lap or two around your work area. Instead of emailing a coworker, walk over to them. Convert your regular desk to a stand-up desk, or better yet, put a treadmill under your desk.
We know that we need to interrupt those periods of sitting by just simply standing in short periods, maybe 1 or 2 minutes of moving around, and then go back to sitting.
So whether you're standing, sitting, or walking, good posture leads to good health and good looks. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Some good tips there, Lori. Thank you. Well, up next, the Faith and Freedom Coalition honors CBN's founder, Pat Robertson.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Thanks for staying with us. The Faith and Freedom Coalition honored CBN founder Pat Robertson with a Lifetime Achievement Award. He was given the coalition's first Winston Churchill Award. The group's leader, Ralph Reed, said that, like Winston Churchill, Pat saw opportunity where others saw only difficulty, and where others saw only their ambitions, Pat saw God's kingdom. Pat said he was honored to be given an award named for Churchill. He said the former British Prime Minister's contribution to freedom is monumental and an inspiration to us all.
I want to say tonight that you and I are not going to give up the fight until this great nation is once again lifted to the place it deserves among the family of nations, where it will be a bright, shining city on a hill, where it will be the hope of the downtrodden throughout the earth, and where indeed we can say proudly, we are one nation under God.
I like that. Congratulations, Dr. Robertson. What an honor. Well, that's all for this edition of NewsWatch. Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a good night.